Welcome to Telling Funny Dreams Part 1. Now, right off the bat, I just want to say I'm not a superstitious person, so this is not one of those things. It's just sometimes, have you had a dream that even to your own imagination just seemed ridiculous, but then you got to wonder, what does it mean? And so I had a really funny dream last night, but I just thought that it would be fun to share some of these dreams that we're having. And just to see what kind of ridiculous scenarios our minds put us through when we're sleeping, because I think that's what it is, just scenarios, imaginations that our minds conjure up while we're sleeping. And sometimes you get to wake up and go, was that real or was it just a dream? Well, I believe they are just dreams. I don't know if there's any truth to them. I don't know if there's any meaning to them. So to me, it was just a dream. And so here's my dream. Now, you know that we live in a galaxy called the Milky Way galaxy. And we also have the next one next to us, which is the Andromeda galaxy, I think that's the one. So in my dream, these two galaxies supposedly were on a collision course. And according to scientists, it was going to take about 200 million years for them to actually collide. And so in my dream, somehow the time just sped up. And all of a sudden, everybody got out of their houses. And it was almost nighttime, and we're all looking up into the sky, and those who had a telescope could only see it, but now it was so close that everyone else in the world could see it. Everybody's just so fascinated about this galaxy that's coming in to crash. Now I know what you're thinking, Mac, you've been watching too many movies. Well, that's not the funny part of the story. So you could get out and you could see this galaxy coming, and you could see it swirling near our galaxy and our Earth, and everybody's worried about these planets that are obviously looping around the galaxy, or that's not the term, orbiting around the galaxy, coming to collide with each other. And so in my dream, when this was about to happen, the churches around the world gathered together and started telling everybody that we need to evacuate the planet and take everybody to heaven. And so they came up with a brilliant plan. Let's use helicopters. Yeah, that's when it starts to get weird. So churches started thinking that we need to get people to heaven by evacuating them out of the planet before all the planets collide by using helicopters.
Get to the chopper!
And I really bought into that. But so many people were like, no one goes to heaven through a helicopter. That's not how it works. But churches around the world actually believed it, and they came together with certain various governments, and they bought like a whole lot of choppers and flights and everything. And we were going around gathering people, trying to board them to get them into the helicopters just so that we could transport them up to heaven. And that's what the churches believed. And in my dream, I thought, wow, okay, now this is weird. So first of all, we're afraid the universes are colliding, and the fastest way to get to heaven is to board a helicopter and fly. That's weird, right? So to me, that sounded weird. But the strange part of the story is that churches actually believed it. They literally bought so many choppers. And I was one of those people in the dream that was convincing everyone we need to get onto these choppers and get to heaven. But when it came to convincing my family, they didn't want to go. They said, Mac, we'd rather watch this. This is much more nicer. As in, it's much more wow than you telling us you're going to take us to heaven on a helicopter. That's just so ridiculous. That's the response I got from my family. I mean, rightfully so. That sounds very ridiculous. And again, keep in mind, this is a dream and I have no idea what it meant. But I bought into it. And I started trying to convince them, but they said no. And then I said, oh, well, it's your loss. I'll see you if you ever get there, if you change your mind. So they stayed behind to watch these galaxies coming together, and the planets were starting to orbit near each other, and chaos was ensuing. Meanwhile, I'm on a helicopter with a whole bunch of people. We're flying up, and then suddenly it dawned on me, because the pilot said, hang on, everybody, we're about to go through the threshold. I'm like, the threshold, okay, this is weird. And he says, if you crash, you need to put up your seatbelts because we might crash. And I thought, that's fine, we're going to heaven. Who cares if we crash? I mean, even if we crash land or we die, we're going to end up in heaven because we are on our way to heaven. So what's the problem? But something started thinking I started thinking to myself, hang on, if he's saying we're going to crash, but he's worried that we're going to die when we get to heaven. Why would that be so? How do we die if we're going to go to heaven? Are we going to get to heaven and die? That's what I started asking to myself. And so that's the weird part of the dream now. It started to get really strange. And then the pilot said, well, the landing is not working so well and the runway in heaven is in bad shape. And I thought, wait, what? Heaven has a runway and it's in bad shape and we need to fasten our seatbelt because somehow when we get there, God can't save us because it's just in a bad state. And I started to think, wait a minute, this is not us going to heaven. This is not true. First of all, since when do we go to heaven through a helicopter? And I started asking myself, how did I forget that the only way to heaven is through Jesus? Why would I believe it's through a helicopter? And lo and behold, it turned out in the dream, we were not going to heaven. We were going somewhere through some portal to some alien planet that the churches invented and the government came up with, and that's what was bad. So it wasn't heaven, but they told us it was, so we bought it, and millions of Christians and everybody, and just before we got through what they call the threshold porthole, guess what? I jumped out of the airplane because now I'm thinking my family was right. How can I believe we're going to heaven through a helicopter? Anyway, that was the dream. I have no idea what it means. And I was just fascinated by it. And yeah, I just thought I should share. And I don't know if anyone's going to see this or you might think anything of it or nothing of it. But I just thought it's fascinating that I started believing I could get to heaven through a helicopter. My word. Now that is a ridiculous, funny dreams. Let's hear yours. Maybe you've got a better one. And yeah, I'll see you for part 2. Thanks for watching.